What's up, guys? It is Sunday morning. It is 11:26. This is live. We didn't do one last week, so we're back this week. Browns-Rams getting ready to kick off in about 5 hours from now, and I figured I'd hop on and do one last little preview because I've gone back and forth on this game quite a bit. Maybe more than any game I have all season. And I still don't feel great one way or the other. What's up, Black Play Games? How you doing? Appreciate y'all hopping on here this morning. And Skinner, Alstair. I don't have my glasses on, so I hope I can read the chat well. But we'll do this real quick, 10, 15 minutes. Final thoughts before the Browns and the Rams kick off. And there's two things. Two things we have to start with. Very, very important. If anyone has any idea what to actually expect from Joe Flacco today, they're lying to you. Joe Flacco could be great. Joe Flacco could be terrible. He could just be okay. It is what it is. I have no idea. The man's 38 years old. He was benched for Zach Wilson last year. Zach Wilson was benched for Tim Boyle this year. So what are we going to get? What I do think is worth noting is Joe Flacco wasn't terrible in the first two games of the season, and then he got terrible. Now, remember, the second game of the season last year was against the Cleveland Browns when he came into Cleveland Browns Stadium and threw 4 touchdowns against the Browns. But after that, he was pretty atrocious. And part of the reason was how poor the Jets, offensive line was. The Jets' offensive line last year was terrible. And I don't know why, but shout out to the Columbus Crew. Hopefully I didn't just get tricked by the chat there. But whatever the Crew did last night, let's go Crew. Also, shout out to all the state championship high school teams. I know Glenville won a second straight state championship. St. Ed's also won a state championship. I'm not sure who else did, but congrats to you guys. But back to what I was saying. Joe Flacco is old. He wasn't mobile in his prime. He's even less mobile at 38. And last season with the Jets, who had a horrendous offensive line last year, he was put in positions to fail and fail miserably. Today, against the Los Angeles Rams, what has to happen for the Browns to win is Joel Bitonio, Wyatt Teller, Ethan Pochich, DeJuan Jones, James Hudson, Jerron Christian. That has to be a heroic effort. Has to be a heroic effort. There can't be like, they played okay. If they just play okay, it's an issue. Because Joe Flacco has the same mobility right now as Adam the Bull. Love you, Bull. Joe Flacco, I went back and watched every throw he made last season. Every single throw. Which, granted, it was only 4 games, not a ton. And he played a couple snaps later in the season. But also, my ceiling's not leaking. It's exposed rock, whatever. It's however the apartment built the it's not leaking, trust me. It's brick or rock or exposed, whatever. But I promise you, it is not leaking. There's no mold. It's just discolored rock. I assure you guys. But I went back and watched every one of Joe Flacco's throws in 2022. When he had time and the ability to set his feet and read the defense, he was all right. You could absolutely 100,000% win football games with that level of play from Joe Flacco, especially with the Browns defense, especially against the quality of opponent they have today in the Los Angeles Rams. Where it gets a little iffy is what happens when he had to move and the Jets offensive line had him moving left and right. That got ugly. Joe Flacco on the move is not good. Was not good. Maybe he's better this year. We'll see. But last season, based on the tape, a mobile Joe Flacco was not a good Joe Flacco. And they're facing Aaron Donald today. But outside of Aaron Donald, the Rams pass rush is nothing to get excited about, frankly. It's not terrible. They're not dead last in the NFL in sacks, but they're certainly not up there near the top like Cleveland is, like Baltimore is, like some of the other elite pass rushers in football. But they do have Aaron Donald. And I'm curious to see how Los Angeles tries to mix and match Aaron Donald across from the Browns' offensive line and maybe use him more in an outside position so he's getting a chance to go up against DeJuan Jones or Jerron Christian as opposed to Teller, Batonio. But regardless of who's trying to block Aaron Donald, that dude's an absolute freaking monster. One of the best of all time. Kevin Stefanski, I hope. Real quick, before I talk about Stefanski, did you guys see Diana Rossini's report yesterday about Stefanski's future with the team? If you hadn't, Rossini, who works for The Athletic now, essentially wrote an article that said Stefanski's not going anywhere. His standing with the team's phenomenal. We may hate Stefanski at times. We may love Stefanski. We may go back and forth on the coach, but he will be the coach next season. And she did not say that was a guarantee, but she said the team, the owner, they're all aligned between him, Berry, and all the way up to Jimmy Haslam. So if you don't like Stefanski, I don't know what to tell you, but he's not going. Also, I need a haircut so bad. I'm going on Wednesday. I apologize, guys. My hair is out of control. But I think Stefanski today is going to have to dial up and dig deep into his bag of tricks more than we've seen at any point during his tenure as the Cleveland Browns head coach. Let's switch roles for a sec. Let's imagine we were a Rams show, right? And we were getting ready and looking at, all right, how do we stop Cleveland? Well, they have Joe Flacco at quarterback, and we don't exactly know what to expect from him. You have Amari Cooper and Njoku, and the other receivers they have not lived up to expectations. We'll put it simply like that. You're going to put 9-10 guys in the box and force Joe Flacco to beat you. And I know last week, and once again, I disagreed with how little Stefanski ran the ball last week. I disagree. Full record, he should have ran the ball more than 16 times. I want that on the record. I also understand why running the ball into an 8-9, 10-person box on first down to pick up a yard is not the ideal way to start a drive with a young quarterback. So I see both sides. I don't agree with it. I understand why. Bull texted us this morning, and for everyone who says the Browns don't run the ball enough, the Browns are actually averaging more carries a game this season than any team in the league, any team last season, any team in 2021, and the last team to average more carries per game than the Cleveland Browns this season, the 2020 Baltimore Ravens. So, Browns run the ball enough. I think they should run the ball more in certain situations, but it's not like Stefanski does not run the football. I think he's going to have to get creative today. I think we're going to have to see some Wildcat. Jason mentioned the Wildcat. I just don't think Mikey McNuggets, this is crazy. I might just go throw a hat on real quick. It is outrageously loud. I just got out the shower too, so it's a little wet and floppy. So listen, my hair's not the reason the Browns are going to win or lose. It's the reason I'm going to go crazy. It's the reason I'm going to go crazy today. I'm getting a haircut Wednesday, so you'll see me on Thursday with a much better mop of lettuce on top of this head. But I do think we're going to have to see some Wildcat. I do not want to see reverse. No reverses. Zero. Nothing. Do not put Elijah Moore in reverse play. Those have been an absolute catastrophe. But I would not be surprised if we saw some sort of variation of whatever happened with the Harrison Bryant package. A new wrinkle to that. Maybe does Harrison Bryant throw a pass? I don't think so, but it wouldn't shock me. I think there's a chance we see another pitch out of that in a way we haven't seen before. I like the little wing tee they used on the touchdown against Denver last week. It's I believe the first time they brought out the wing tee all season, resulted in a touchdown. Oh, no, they scored a rushing touchdown with that formation with, I was against Seattle. Kareem Hunt scored it. And they did a little fake and then DTR threw the touchdown to Harrison Bryant last week. So I'm not exactly sure what it's going to look like. We saw Amari Cooper throw a pass last year against Cincinnati. I'm not sure what it's going to look like. All I know is running the ball into a 9-10 person box. It won't be a 10 person, but an 8-9 person box is not necessarily a recipe for success. And I'm worried that after hearing everything last week about why they did not run the ball, he's just going to be like, all right, this is what you want? Here, hand it off. Could it work? Maybe. I'm not saying it can't work. I just think that's not the Browns' best path to winning today. I think it's going to have to be a creative game plan. And I know G. Bush said, and G. Bush killed Stefanski last week. Even G. Bush said, hey, whatever he's got to do to move the ball, it has to be pulling out today. Jason said on Monday, this is not a must-win game for the Browns. I kind of disagree. And we talked about this a little bit on the show, but you have Houston and Jacksonville the next 2 weeks. Jacksonville and Houston. All three of those teams vying for a playoff spot. The two AFC South teams, one of those will get in by winning the division. But if you don't win this game, your margin of error the rest of the way is tight. It's minute. It's so small. So small. And the 2 wins you look in the schedule after this, if they lose, that you think you have the best chance of winning, at least on paper, would be the Jets and the Bengals. But you can't wait till week 17 to count two wins. You can't. At that point, it could be over. So I kind of think this is a must-win. And that's why I'm going to be okay. I'll be okay if Stefanski goes deep into his bag of tricks to find ways to generate some offense if whatever he wants to start with isn't working. That's kind of how I look at it. I don't want Stefanski to come out in the first play and do some double flea flicker pass. But if you realize that Joe Flacco and this running game aren't getting consistent drives together, aren't mounting consistent offensive production, doesn't even necessarily equal points every time, but it can't be 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, get a first down, 3 and out. I need you to do something else. And that something else may have to be a trick play you've been saving for later in the year. Well, today's the day it has to come out. You can't hide it. You can't wait. Today is the day it has to come out. And I'm telling you right now, and I'm giving myself a little margin of error, a little wiggle room. On the post-game show today after the game, if Stefanski tries a couple weird trick plays, unless one is an abomination like that Colts fake punt a few years ago or the disgusting, unless it's an absolute abomination, I'm not gonna trash Stefanski. I think they have to get creative. I just don't know what to expect. I do not know what to expect from Joe Flacco. I have no idea. If he can plant his feet and throw, he's gonna be all right. If he can't, it's gonna be ugly. I do think though, and it's interesting, the first 2 games last season, he was much better than his final 2 starts with the Jets. I wonder if he has a limited amount of high-quality throws left in his right arm before it just gets too tired and his age literally his age fatigue, whatever you want to say, becomes an issue. I think he's got at least 2. I think he's got 60 throws. 60 NFL games, not practice throws, but 60 NFL game throws. And he better not use 50 today. I'll tell you that. There better not be 50 attempts today. I love how the Browns defense matches up against this Rams offense. We talked about Kyren Williams, and he's been really, really, really good the last couple of weeks. Really, really, really good the last couple of weeks. And the Browns against the Denver Broncos struggled in stopping the run. But Tyvis pointed out something, and I noticed something on tape that he kind of filled me in afterwards that I think will be corrected this week. Myles Garrett, despite having phenomenal PFF grades against the run, has such free reign to attack the quarterback that teams often run right to the area that he vacates when he takes a wide rushing angle. And give Sean Payton kudos last week. He schemed, designed, and called certain plays, especially those trap plays from the shotgun, at the perfect time to take advantage of when Myles was up the field. I don't think Jim Schwartz today, knowing the lack of mobility from Matt Stafford, is going to ask Myles to necessarily split out wide. Not split out wide, but take those weird pass rush angles. Not even weird, but the wide pass rush angles that he's done against more mobile quarterbacks to kind of keep them corralled in the pocket. And as long as Myles doesn't take those wide angles, I don't think those running lanes for Kyren Williams will be there like they were for Javonte Williams and Samaje Perine last week. I see in the chat. No, I didn't say they're going to throw 60 times. I'm saying I think he has about 60, 70 throws tops before Joe Flacco kind of just falls off a cliff. And I hope it's not today. I'm not saying it's today. I think it'll be over the course of however many games he has to play. But I was just looking at last year. His third and fourth games where his arm significantly dropped off from the first two. Like he didn't have the same zip on it. He didn't have the same touch or accuracy. I just think that's a result of being older. Like he doesn't have the live arm he had when he was 28. He's 38 years old. He hasn't been throwing a football for that long in the grand scheme of things. He admitted he'd only been casually throwing before the Browns called him to the practice squad. So I just don't believe that he has the same level of arm stamina required to lead the Browns on a consistent level for 6-7 games if need be. That's why DTR coming back, hopefully next week or in 2 weeks, is a much needed relief. I also think Greg Newsome, who got the numbers weren't as bad as the actual results looked. Cortland said only had 3 catches for 64 yards or 61 yards. It wasn't anything crazy, but it seemed like it always came against Greg Newsome. There's still no Denzel Ward. You have Emerson. You have Newsome. I think Mike Ford will be the slot guy. You go up against Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua. Kupp, the last 5 weeks, has been bad. Like he is, him and Elijah Moore have almost essentially the same numbers over the last 5 games. And when you look at who Cooper Kupp has been, and you look at who Elijah Moore is, you don't expect the same level of production from those two based on their, historical value. Cooper Kupp had a Triple Crown season 2 years ago when the Rams won the Super Bowl. Elijah Moore hasn't had a 1,000-yard season. So the fact that's who he's been kind of relegated to the last 5 weeks makes me believe that he's either still kind of hurt and he got a little nicked up against Arizona last week, or he's just old. And once again, when you get old, your play kind of drops, especially if you're a guy who revolves and relies on as much precision stop-start as Cooper Kupp does. I actually really like the Greg Newsome matchup against Cooper Kupp. If I was Jim Schwartz, I'm putting Emerson on Nacua, and I'm putting Newsome on Cooper Kupp. And I think, and I hope, that Newsome's his quickness, will be able to prohibit what Cooper Kupp wants to do off the line of scrimmage. You put Emerson on Nacua, I'll take that matchup every day of the week. Give me MJ over Nacua 365 days of the year. That's how much I'm on the Martin Emerson Jr. train. Nacua is a great young receiver, but give me Emerson all day on that. On the flip side, Kupp versus Newsome is going to be a fun-ass matchup. Newsome said he wanted to play the outside. He got relegated to the slot because he has the skill set of a slot corner more than the outside corner. But remember, they drafted him to be an outside corner. They didn't draft Greg Newsome to be a slot corner. If Newsome wants to get paid, which we all do, myself included, this is a game that he could go back and say, hey, look, Denzel is out. I had a rough game against Denver. I got to bounce back. And Cooper Kupp, if I could shut down Cooper Kupp, when I go to the negotiating table in 2 seasons, this is a game I could say, hey, I played slot. My numbers may not look exactly how they should because I'm playing a little bit out of position. This is where I should be playing. This is a game to get paid. I think it's going to take a heroic effort from the offensive line to keep Joe Flacco upright. I think it has to be a solid. I don't think it has to be an A+ effort from the defense to win. I think it has to be at least a B. Against Denver, it was a C-. I think against LA today, has to be a B. I don't think it has to be an A+. They don't need to hold LA to 3 points. It doesn't have to be that level. But I just don't have confidence. And listen, real quick, let me clarify something. Me not having confidence doesn't mean it can't happen. If the Browns score 24 points, 27 points, let's go. Like count me in. Like trust me. I just don't feel confident telling you guys right now that I think it's. I just don't. I don't want to say it could happen. I just don't feel confident telling you it will happen. And I like to live in the. I know. I think. I doubt. I'm in the in between. Like I don't know. So I think the defense, if it holds LA, and it's more than capable of doing this, to less than 17 points, I think this Browns offense, even with Joe Flacco, should be able to score 17 points on LA. Now we're starting talking about 3 touchdowns, 21. I don't think the Rams offense, is good enough to sustain 3 scoring drives against this Browns defense. So we'll find out. It's a 425 kick. Hopefully, fingers crossed, this is the last time you'll see me from this spot. Back there, I'm setting up a little in-home studio hopefully later today. I got to bring 2 friends over to help me hang up some stuff, but hopefully it's the last time you ever to see the rest of my living room here in a little 1-bedroom apartment. But I like the Browns' chances. I picked them to win on Friday, and I'm not wavering. I'm not. Joe Flacco is Joe Flacco. And I hope we get a Joe Flacco game similar to what he did against Cleveland last year. You know how old Joe Flacco is? He's 2-0 against the Rams, in his career. Except the last time he played the Rams, they were still the St. Louis Rams. He beat them in 2012. They beat him in 2015. And in those 2 games against the Rams, mind you, completely different franchise, he's throwing 4 touchdowns. He's throwing for nearly 700 yards and 2 picks. I don't think we're going to get 344 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick from Flacco today like he's been averaging against this Rams franchise. I think he's going to turn the ball over once. I think he could lead them on 2 or 3 scoring drives. And I think that's enough to beat a Rams team, which has been frisky, but they haven't beaten anybody. Like, they beat the Cardinals. Cool. You're supposed to beat the Cardinals. You're playing better, I get it. You beat the Seahawks. PJ Walker must beat the Seahawks. Like, I'm just not sold. So I like the Browns to win this game 23-16. I upped my score. I think there's going to be more offense than I thought there would be on Friday. So I've upped my score a little bit. But I'm going with Cleveland 23, Rams 16. I think Flacco throws for about 207 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception. I think the Browns run the ball for 150. I think Kyron Williams breaks 1 long run, but for the rest of the game is relatively corralled. And I think Stafford finds Cooper Kupp for a touchdown because he's still damn good in the red zone. But here's the official number, 23-16, Browns win. And I saw in the chat real quick, what's the committee going to do in 12 minutes here for the Final Four? This is the toughest decision the committee's ever had to make. It's good luck. You got a good case for everybody. I think this is what it will be, and then I'll tell you what I think it should be. I think it'll be Michigan 1, Washington 2, Texas 3, Alabama 4. I think that's what it will be. What it should be, Michigan 1, Washington 2, Bama 3. And if it was up to me, I'd put Georgia 4 over Texas. But I don't think it's going to happen. I still think Georgia, their only loss of the season, a 3-point loss in the SEC championship game. I know Texas beat Bama. It was earlier in the year. The teams are totally different now. Jalen Milroe got benched. I don't know if any of y'all watched the SEC championship game yesterday or any of Bama the last 6-7 weeks. Jalen Milroe got benched in week 3. Can you imagine benching Jalen Milroe with how good he's played? Like, what Nick Saban has done with this Alabama team. And I got an A&M shirt on. Like, Aggies are my team, but this is the best coaching job Nick Saban's ever done. They benched it. I have no clue how this team just beat Georgia, how this team hasn't lost in the SEC. It is unbelievable. So, yeah, Ohio State, you didn't play in championship weekend. You got no chance of jumping teams. You have a team like Georgia who should not fall below Ohio State despite losing a game yesterday. Michigan's the number 1 team in the country. They've earned it. I'm not even sure they're that good. Iowa's a freaking joke, by the way. Iowa should never be allowed to play in a Big Ten championship game again. They are an absolute atrocity to offensive football. I did put out a tweet early this morning. If you guys go check it out. There was a player on Iowa who on the long punt return that Michigan had, the 87-yarder that set up their first touchdown. He ran past the punt returner, fell, and then chased him back down the field 90 yards. 90 yards. And made the play. It was one of the best hustle plays I've ever seen. So if it was up to me, Georgia's still in there. I think they're one of the 4 best teams in the country. But I do not feel bad for the committee. I also feel bad for Florida State because they're on their 3rd-string quarterback, but like the committee's job's with the 4 best teams in the country. I don't think they're one of the 4 best teams with your 3rd-string quarterback. Like I know it sucks, and I know Cardale Jones did it. He was their 2nd string, but like Cardale Jones did it a few years. I don't know. This is the toughest decision the committee is going to make. Someone's going to get screwed. They're going to have a legitimate gripe, but yeah, it's I'm glad I'm not in the room making those decisions. Like I said, Browns 23, Rams 16. We will be back for the post-game show starting at the 2-minute warning. Myself, Earl G. Bush. Make sure y'all like this video. Make sure y'all subscribe to the channel. I appreciate you guys for hanging out with me this morning, and I will see you guys hopefully after a Browns dub on this same channel. But for now, Mikey McNuggets out. Peace.